The skyline of Manhattan glows like molten gold, yet beneath the glittering towers, shadows stretch long and deep. On quiet streets lined with wrought iron gates and polished marble, the city's most opulent mansions stand like frozen titans, their facades immaculate, their windows reflecting a world of privilege few will ever touch. At first glance, these homes are celebrations of beauty, ambition, and wealth, monuments to power in a city that never sleeps. Yet if you look closer, you notice the subtle cracks in their perfection, the faint stains in the stone, the overgrown hedges, the silence that hangs heavier than the city's clamor. These are not merely houses, they are vessels of obsession, cages of desire, stages where the human heart has faltered beneath the weight of fortune. Step closer, and the grandeur is intoxicating. Marble staircases spiral like frozen waterfalls. Ceilings are painted with angels and allegories. Chandeliers glitter like captured constellations. Every surface gleams with meticulous care. Every detail screams of ambition and the lengths people will go to display it. Yet in the stillness there is a whisper of labor hidden behind the brilliance. The quiet footsteps of servants who never tasted such opulence. The hidden kitchens and narrow corridors where invisible hands kept the world of luxury in motion. The wealth above is dazzling, but the cost below is nearly invisible and often devastating. What is celebrated in gilded rooms can be a source of despair in hidden corners, where human lives are subsumed by the pursuit of perfection. And then there are the secrets the walls remember. The mansions have absorbed more than light and laughter. They have absorbed tension, heartbreak, betrayal. Portraits on the walls seem to follow with eyes that hold a faint accusation. Behind closed doors, whispered arguments spilled into long nights. Marriages crumbled beneath the weight of expectation, and fortunes shifted in silence while public facades remained flawless. Even the most lavish rooms have corners darkened with sorrow, where a lonely child pressed a face to the window, watching the world go by while doors remained firmly closed, and a parent chased reputation instead of warmth. The elegance masks a quiet, persistent ache, the human cost of beauty that demands perfection. Some mansions are said to be haunted, not by ghosts, but by memory itself. A chandelier swings as though nudged by a breath long past. A door opens and closes without touch. The air carries the faint scent of perfume and tobacco, remnants of dinners where deals were made, loves betrayed, and fortunes gambled. And yet, amid the opulence, the city moves around these structures unaware. People pass without seeing the anguish etched into stone, without knowing the sacrifices carved into the floors, the obsessions etched into ceilings. Even the most casual observer is touched by the silence, compelled to wonder what unseen dramas unfolded in rooms meant to showcase triumph, not grief. One mansion in particular, hidden behind iron gates that have resisted time, seems almost alive in its quietude. The windows reflect the sun at dawn and the street lamps at night, but the true story lies in the shadows, the narrow hallways, the locked rooms, the staircases that wind into darkness. It is a place where human desire collided with mortality, where obsession became a silent partner, and where beauty was both a gift and a curse. Many admire from the outside, but few understand that behind each gilded door, lives were consumed, hearts were broken, and secrets were sealed away, waiting patiently for someone willing to look beyond the marble to uncover the truth. The story of Manhattan's grand mansions begins long before the gates closed and the chandeliers gleamed. In the late 1800s, the city was a crucible of ambition, a place where fortunes rose as quickly as they fell. Industrial titans and banking dynasties carved their empires from steel, oil, and railroads. Yet wealth alone was never enough. They needed a monument, a statement that their lives mattered, that their power was eternal. So they built. Stone by stone, floor by floor, each mansion a testament not only to money, but to the obsessive desire to be remembered. Every facade was carefully chosen, every column and arch a proclamation, every garden an emblem of control over both nature and perception. Walking past these estates, one cannot help but feel the intensity of that ambition. The mansions stretch across entire city blocks, walls of limestone and marble reflecting the sun in a brilliance that can be blinding. Windows soar like cathedral glass, yet behind them, life unfolded with quiet desperation. Families who seemed to have everything were often haunted by the weight of their own creation. Children grew up in corridors that echoed with expectation, their laughter measured against the grandeur of the rooms. Parents, consumed by the pursuit of status, built spaces so vast that intimacy was lost somewhere in the spiral staircases or hidden wings. The more elaborate the mansion, the more fragile the human heart within it. The interiors were breathtaking, yes, but they were also arenas for obsession. Ceilings were painted with allegories imported from Europe, gold leaf-framed mirrors that reflected more than just faces, they reflected ambition itself. Grand staircases became stages for arrival and departure, moments of display that demanded precision and poise. Yet behind these performances were servants who moved silently, shadows of the wealth above. Kitchens hummed with labor, corridors echoed with hurried footsteps, and hidden tunnels carried provisions while the world outside remained oblivious. The brilliance above could never fully mask the toil beneath, and the silence of the rooms often spoke louder than the music of the balls that filled them. Even the construction of these mansions carried a hidden cost. Architects and craftsmen poured skill into every detail, but families poured obsession into the lives entwined with those walls. Marriages were strained by endless renovations, loyalties tested in the shadows of opulence, and fortunes occasionally dissolved under the pressure of perfection. What outsiders saw as elegance was often a battlefield of expectation and disappointment, and yet the desire to possess beauty, to assert dominance through artistry, was irresistible. Each mansion was both a triumph and a trap, a delicate balance between creation and destruction. Some of these estates carried secrets even in their foundations. Underground passages, hidden staircases, and forgotten rooms held whispers of clandestine meetings, silent rebellions, or concealed sorrow. Artworks commissioned at great expense sometimes portrayed hidden allegories, reflecting family tensions or unspoken regrets. Gardens stretched like ordered wilderness, manicured to impress, but sometimes hiding quarrels and grief in their shadows. Every element of design was an extension of human desire. The need to impress, the need to control, the need to endure beyond mortality. And as time passed, these mansions aged in silence. The walls absorbed decades of joy, heartbreak, and ambition. Though they gleamed at their inception, their beauty could not erase the quiet suffering, the human tension embedded in the very stones. Every window, every arch, every corridor was a vessel for stories that were whispered but never spoken aloud, narratives of obsession and quiet desperation woven seamlessly into the fabric of luxury and prestige. The story of Manhattan's grand mansions begins long before the gates closed and the chandeliers gleamed. In the late 1800s, the city was a crucible of ambition, a place where fortunes rose as quickly as they fell. Industrial titans and banking dynasties carved their empires from steel, oil, and railroads. Yet wealth alone was never enough. They needed a monument, a statement that their lives mattered, that their power was eternal. So they built, stone by stone, floor by floor, each mansion a testament not only to money, but to the obsessive desire to be remembered. Every façade was carefully chosen, every column and arch a proclamation, every garden an emblem of control over both nature and perception. Walking past these estates, one cannot help but feel the intensity of that ambition. The mansions stretch across entire city blocks, walls of limestone and marble reflecting the sun in a brilliance that can be blinding. Windows soar like cathedral glass, yet behind them, life unfolded with quiet desperation. Families who seemed to have everything were often haunted by the weight of their own creation. Children grew up in corridors that echoed with expectation, their laughter measured against the grandeur of the rooms. Parents, consumed by the pursuit of status, built spaces so vast that intimacy was lost somewhere in the spiral staircases or hidden wings. The more elaborate the mansion, the more fragile the human heart within it. The interiors were breathtaking, yes, but they were also arenas for obsession. Ceilings were painted with allegories imported from Europe, gold leaf-framed mirrors that reflected more than just faces. They reflected ambition itself. Grand staircases became stages for arrival and departure, moments of display that demanded precision and poise. Yet behind these performances were servants who moved silently, shadows of the wealth above. Kitchens hummed with labor, corridors echoed with hurried footsteps, and hidden tunnels carried provisions while the world outside remained oblivious. The brilliance above could never fully mask the toil beneath, and the silence of the rooms often spoke louder than the music of the balls that filled them. Even the construction of these mansions carried a hidden cost. Architects and craftsmen poured skill into every detail, but families poured obsession into the lives entwined with those walls. Marriages were strained by endless renovations, loyalties tested in the shadows of opulence, and fortunes occasionally dissolved under the pressure of perfection. What outsiders saw as elegance was often a battlefield of expectation and disappointment, and yet, the desire to possess beauty, to assert dominance through artistry, was irresistible. Each mansion was both a triumph and a trap, a delicate balance between creation and destruction. Some of these estates carried secrets even in their foundations. Underground passages, hidden staircases, and forgotten rooms held whispers of clandestine meetings, silent rebellions, or concealed sorrow. Artworks commissioned at great expense sometimes portrayed hidden allegories, reflecting family tensions or unspoken regrets. Gardens stretched like ordered wilderness, manicured to impress, but sometimes hiding quarrels and grief in their shadows. Every element of design was an extension of human desire: the need to impress, the need to control, the need to endure beyond mortality. And as time passed, these mansions aged in silence. The walls absorbed decades of joy, heartbreak, and ambition. Though they gleamed at their inception, their beauty could not erase the quiet suffering, the human tension embedded in the very stones. Every window, every arch, every corridor was a vessel for stories that were whispered but never spoken aloud, narratives of obsession and quiet desperation woven seamlessly into the fabric of luxury and prestige. Behind the grandeur of Manhattan's mansions, life often unfolded with a quiet intensity that no gilded ceiling could conceal. The glittering balls, the polished floors, and the imported art were stages for appearances, yet behind every carefully arranged tableau, human lives were entwined with tension and longing. Families who seemed to possess everything were haunted by what they could not control, emotions that spilled over in whispers, desires that clashed with decorum, and ambitions that outstripped their ability to endure the consequences. Even in rooms illuminated by crystal chandeliers, shadows lingered, and in those shadows, secrets quietly festered. Marriages were both alliances and cages. Wives moved through salons in gowns that swept the floor, their smiles measured, their eyes tracing the grand staircases as if searching for escape. Husbands negotiated fortunes by day, yet at night, the corridors of their estates echoed with frustration, silence, or arguments muffled behind closed doors. Children grew up under the scrutiny of painted ancestors and imposing portraits, learning that the expectation of perfection was not merely a request, but a command etched into the very walls. The mansion itself became a mirror, reflecting ambition and desire back at its inhabitants, yet offering no comfort for the frailties it exposed. Some mansions became stages for scandal as inevitable as the rising sun. A missing heir, whispered rumors of affairs, debts that appeared overnight. These dramas were concealed behind marble walls and locked gates, the world outside blissfully unaware. Families were forced to maintain the illusion of control while chaos brewed in rooms no visitor would ever see. Even the staff who carried the weight of these secrets could not escape the tension, silent witnesses to heartbreak, invisible chroniclers of ambition gone too far. The more opulent the mansion, the more intricate the web of human cost, and often the consequences were quietly tragic. In certain estates, tragedy left permanent marks. A tycoon disappeared one winter night, leaving behind a mansion so vast that grief seemed to echo endlessly through its empty halls. Another home, once vibrant with laughter during summer soirees, became a mausoleum of silence after a fortune was stolen and the family fractured irreparably. Faint scratches on walls, worn spots on carpets, and doors that refused to close properly hinted at past upheavals that were never recorded in the society pages. Even the art on the walls, the frescoed ceilings, the gilded mirrors seemed to bear witness to the human suffering entwined with luxury, reflecting not triumph, but tension, regret, and loss. Yet within this tapestry of sorrow, obsession continued unabated. The desire to maintain appearances, to project perfection, to assert control over legacy drove families to extremes. Nights stretched long with sleepless pacing along marble floors. Mornings arrived with whispered confrontations in sunlit corridors, and yet no one could escape the mansion's silent scrutiny. Even in laughter-filled ballrooms, under the soft glow of crystal, hearts ached with longing, and eyes betrayed the unspoken stories that polished surfaces could not hide. Every lavish decoration, every meticulously curated room was evidence of a struggle between beauty and despair, between the illusion of mastery and the reality of human fragility, a struggle that would leave its mark for generations to come. Over time, even the grandest of Manhattan mansions begin to sigh under the weight of their own history. Floors that once gleamed under polished shoes now creak with each step. Carpets fray where footsteps once raced to meet the next social engagement, and chandeliers hang silently, their crystals dulled by dust and time. The laughter and music that filled the ballrooms have faded, leaving a hollow resonance, a memory pressed into walls that once reflected the ambitions, joys, and sorrows of those who lived within. The grandeur remains, but its vitality has grown fragile, almost spectral, as if the house itself remembers every whispered argument, every forbidden glance, every night when hope teetered on the edge of despair. Rooms that once displayed opulence now speak of absence. Wallpaper peels like shedding skin, revealing layers of decisions, desires, and disappointments from decades past. Heavy draperies sag, muffling the sunlight that once illuminated treasures imported from distant continents. Yet in this decay, there is intimacy, a raw vulnerability that the glittering prime of the mansion could never reveal. Hidden cabinets, long untouched, store letters that were never mailed, objects that were meant to conceal rather than reveal, and photographs of children whose faces are frozen in joy yet haunted by unspoken longing. Each forgotten item is a fragment of life that the mansion absorbed and preserved, a quiet testimony to the human tension that underlies the beauty. Even the corridors that once guided guests with precision now twist and echo with unfamiliar resonance. Servant staircases, once traversed in near silence, remain lined with scuffed banisters, whispers of labor and subservience lingering in the wood. The mansion seemed to breathe in these shadows, preserving the rhythm of lives long past, as if each creak is a heartbeat, each draft a sigh. There is a quiet obsession in this silence, a lingering demand that the past not be forgotten, that the stories of ambition, love, betrayal, and loss continue to linger in spaces that outwardly appear still. The gardens, too, speak in tongues of memory. Overgrown hedges twist in patterns that once celebrated order, fountains are clogged with the remnants of time, and statues are mottled with moss that softens the edges of perfection. Once designed to impress and to control nature itself, these spaces now hint at neglect, revealing the fragility beneath obsession. Flowers bloom erratically, paths are uneven, and the air carries the scent of decay mixed with traces of roses and earth, a delicate reminder that even beauty is temporal, and even wealth cannot command the passage of time. And within this quiet, almost mournful decay, there is revelation. In forgotten attics, dust-laden libraries, and shuttered rooms, personal stories lie waiting. Diaries hidden beneath floorboards reveal secret loves, financial betrayals, and ambitions never realized. Paintings conceal hidden inscriptions. Drawers contain contracts and letters that expose the relentless pursuit of status at the expense of human connection. The grandeur of the mansion remains a facade, but beneath it, the raw human stories endure, a testament to lives shaped by desire, obsession, and the quiet, emotional costs of beauty and wealth. The mansion is both witness and participant, a silent repository of the human heart, where every hidden corner, every shadowed passage, every forgotten object holds a story that refuses to die. Today, Manhattan's mansions stand as quiet witnesses to a city transformed, their marble facades juxtaposed against glass towers that pierce the sky, monuments of a new ambition built atop old dreams. From the street, they appear serene, untouched by time. Yet anyone who steps closer can sense the weight of decades pressed into stone. The air carries a different rhythm now. The bustle of the city surrounds them, indifferent to the stories held within. Yet those walls remember every heartbeat, every sigh, every secret that once made them alive. It is a place where beauty has endured, but the human cost behind it remains invisible to most eyes. Inside, the grand rooms have evolved, repurposed for the modern age, yet their essence is unchanged. Libraries once filled with whispered confidences now host scholars and tourists, examining marble fireplaces and gilded mirrors as if the past were a museum exhibit rather than the lived, breathing tension of countless lives. The chandeliers still catch the light, though now it falls on faces unfamiliar, eyes curious but detached from the stories embedded in the walls. The staircases, sweeping and perfect, still guide footsteps, but now they echo with wonder instead of whispered commands or hushed arguments. Even restored, every detail retains the shadow of human obsession, the silent reminder that luxury was never free and perfection always demanded a price. Outside, the gardens tell a different tale, one of both neglect and care. Some are meticulously maintained, a tribute to the original vision, while others are tamed only partially, letting wild branches twist and reclaim what was once forced into symmetry. Fountains, cleaned and polished, still hint at the lavish entertainment they once accompanied, yet their waters now ripple quietly, reflecting a city that moves faster than memory, unaware of the human stories hidden in each carefully placed stone. Paths wind as they always did, directing footsteps through curated beauty, but beneath the soil, roots have shifted, hinting at a subtle defiance, the passage of time pressing against the attempts to control it. Even the families who survived, whose names are whispered in historical records or etched into society columns, feel the mansion's pull. Modern occupants walk these halls with reverence, aware of the weight of expectation, conscious that every echo carries whispers of past triumphs and past despair. The silence between walls is thick with remembrance, the mansion itself a mediator between eras, reminding its residents that wealth and beauty are entwined with fragility, and that the human heart is forever tied to the spaces it inhabits. And yet, in this tension between past and present, there is revelation. Each restored room, each curated collection, each preserved detail offers insight into lives shaped by ambition, love, obsession, and loss. The mansion becomes a teacher of quiet truths, that grandeur carries sorrow, that perfection masks longing, and that beauty, though celebrated, is inseparable from the human tension it demands. Even as the city rushes past, the mansions endure, alive with memory, a bridge between past and present, and a reminder that the stories of those who lived and suffered, who loved and lost, are never truly erased. Restoration is never merely about stone and paint. It is a delicate negotiation with memory, a careful unearthing of ambition and obsession pressed into walls for generations. Scaffoldings rise like temporary skeletons around facades that have survived decades of storms and neglect, and every careful brushstroke is a dialogue with the past. Craftsmen move through the halls with reverence, dust motes dancing in shafts of sunlight, aware that beneath each layer of paint or plaster lies the imprint of lives long gone. There is tension in every room, a silent insistence that history is delicate, that perfection is not only difficult to achieve, but impossible to possess without acknowledging the human cost embedded in the walls. As restorers uncover hidden panels and secret rooms, the mansion begins to breathe in ways it has not for decades. A library door, long fused shut, swings open to reveal shelves of books inscribed with private notes, diaries tucked behind gilded spines, and contracts that speak of fortunes won and lost in whispers. Hidden staircases emerge from beneath carpets, leading not to grandeur but to confined spaces once traversed by silent feet carrying messages, provisions, and secrets. Even as sunlight illuminates the dust-filled corridors, shadows cling to corners where human desire, ambition, and obsession once collided. Each discovery carries its own tension, wonder, curiosity, and a subtle unease, as if the mansion itself is judging those who dare to pry into its hidden heart. Artifacts unearthed in attics and basements tell stories that the walls alone cannot contain. Personal letters hint at betrayals too intimate to record publicly. Photographs capture expressions of longing never spoken aloud, and paintings conceal tiny inscriptions or family symbols that reveal feuds and alliances, loves and betrayals, triumphs and despair. Restoration does not simply revive the mansion, it resurrects its inhabitants, allowing the echoes of their lives to linger once more. Craftsmen and historians become intermediaries, deciphering the language of obsession, of wealth, and of human fragility, reading between the lines of architecture and ornamentation to uncover narratives that have been hidden in plain sight. Even the gardens, restored with care, carry a sense of revelation. Pathways are cleared, fountains flow again, and topiary is reshaped. Yet beneath the manicured surfaces, roots twist unpredictably, a reminder that life cannot be entirely contained by human hands. Flowers bloom irregularly, petals scattering like whispers of past conversations, memories of laughter, arguments, and quiet grief. Every corner of the estate reflects the delicate balance between beauty and decay, between ambition and fragility, a testament that restoration is as much about preserving human emotion as it is about preserving marble, stone, and gold. And in this careful revival, the mansion speaks. It reveals that obsession has a cost, that wealth carries a burden invisible to outsiders, and that beauty, no matter how meticulously curated, is inseparable from human tension. Each restored room, each polished surface, each discovered secret offers insight into lives lived in pursuit of perfection, and into the silent sacrifices made along the way. Restoration is not merely preservation. It is a dialogue with the past, an acknowledgement of stories long hidden, and an invitation to bear witness to the fragile, complex, and often sorrowful human truths that continue to linger, stubbornly alive within the walls of Manhattan's grandest estates. Few visitors ever notice the subtleties hidden within Manhattan's grandest mansions, the details that speak not of luxury alone, but of obsession, secrecy, and quiet human cost. Behind doors that appear ordinary, corridors twist into hidden chambers, concealed by panels that swing only for those who know their precise rhythm. Floors creak not only under the weight of footsteps, but under decades of memory pressed into wood, memory of ambitions fulfilled and destroyed, of alliances forged and betrayed, of hearts that ached in silence beneath gilded ceilings. Even the most exquisite design cannot hide the traces of obsession etched into every corner, nor the tension that lingered long after the laughter faded. In some mansions, the discoveries are astonishing. Hidden safes embedded behind ornate molding hold letters that reveal forbidden romances, financial betrayals, or alliances that shaped fortunes. Attics store personal artifacts, diaries, and photographs that capture fleeting expressions of longing, fear, or defiance, moments the inhabitants never intended to preserve. The air in these secret spaces carries a weight that is almost physical, a tension that reminds those who enter that beauty was purchased at a price, and that wealth, for all its glamour, often demands silence, secrecy, and sacrifice. Every object tells a story not in broad strokes, but in whispers. The faint imprint of a hand on a ledger, the delicate crease in a note left unread, the hidden signature beneath a painting, a marker of pride or defiance that few would ever see. Even the architecture itself conceals intention. Staircases wind into corridors that lead nowhere, hidden doors provide escape routes, and false walls protect rooms meant to contain secrets. Some families built subterranean passages to preserve privacy, yet these same tunnels often became repositories for sorrow, where arguments were aired in silence, or grief carried from one generation to the next. The mansion becomes a stage for private dramas played out beyond public view, and the more elaborate the design, the more intense the human tension it shelters. Wealth provided the illusion of control, yet even the most meticulous structures could not contain desire, betrayal, or the fragile emotions of those living inside. Objects, rooms, and spaces also speak of obsession with legacy. Paintings conceal cryptic inscriptions, letters hidden behind frames reveal rivalries and anxieties, and certain possessions were curated not for beauty alone but as statements of power, dominance, or memory. Gardens, once ordered and symmetrical, sometimes hide corners where lovers met in secrecy or where children discovered private spaces no one else could see. Even the smallest details, a carved motif, a misplaced key, a locked drawer, can hold narratives of longing, secrecy, or human frailty, proving that every element of the mansion participates in the silent drama of its inhabitants. And yet, despite their beauty and grandeur, these secrets endure beyond the people who created them. They whisper across generations, patiently waiting for discovery, for someone willing to look beyond polished marble, crystal chandeliers, and gilded walls. In each hidden room, behind every secret passage, and among the artifacts long forgotten, the mansions reveal the human tension beneath opulence, the ambition, obsession, love, and quiet suffering that built and haunted these spaces, leaving traces that refuse to fade, marking the legacy of wealth not just in grandeur, but in the shadows it casts. As sunlight fades over Manhattan, the mansions take on a new character, one that is quieter but far more insistent, a presence that seems to exhale the weight of everything that ever transpired within their walls. From the street, they appear elegant and serene, yet step closer and the air is heavy with memory, charged with tension accumulated across generations. It is impossible not to sense the quiet obsession embedded in the architecture, the unspoken demands placed on those who inhabited these spaces, and the hidden costs of beauty meticulously arranged and relentlessly maintained. Every window reflects not only the skyline but the ambitions, regrets, and longings that have been pressed into the stone like ink into parchment. Inside, the rooms speak in soft, persistent whispers. Grand halls that once echoed with music and laughter now hold a delicate reverence, their silence weighted by the lives lived in pursuit of perfection. Mirrors that gleamed under candlelight still reflect faces, yet those faces are layered with the emotions of the past: fear, desire, sorrow, and ambition. Children once raced along polished floors, their joy constrained by invisible rules, while adults moved like careful actors, performing rituals of status and propriety that left little room for intimacy or authenticity. Every ornament, every tapestry, every gilded frame is both an adornment and a witness, a record of quiet human drama that existed alongside wealth and opulence. The tension between appearance and reality becomes almost tangible as one moves through these halls. Staircases curve with deliberate elegance, yet each step seems to echo with past anxieties, the weight of expectation pressing invisibly upon those who ascended them. Hallways that appear empty are imbued with decades of whispered arguments, stolen glances, and moments of despair. The mansion is more than architecture. It is a repository of human emotion, a vessel that captures ambition and obsession, joy and heartbreak, and transforms them into a presence that cannot be ignored. The deeper one ventures, the more the weight of this legacy is felt, pressing gently but persistently, as if the walls themselves are asking for acknowledgement, for understanding, for remembrance. Even the light carries meaning, filtering through stained glass and ornate windows to illuminate dust motes that dance like tiny memories in the air. Sunlight falling on marble floors does not merely reflect, it highlights cracks, subtle imperfections, and shadows that hint at the invisible tension behind the grandeur. Gardens, once meticulously curated, shimmer with both order and the quiet chaos of time, revealing that beauty is always balanced with imperfection, that human desire leaves marks even in spaces designed for perfection. Each carefully restored feature, each preserved artifact, each hidden corner reveals the interplay between wealth and human vulnerability, showing that luxury, no matter how dazzling, is inseparable from its emotional cost. And in this quiet reflection, the mansions offer their ultimate lesson. They are not merely homes or historical artifacts. They are mirrors of human ambition and fragility, reminders that beauty, wealth, and power carry consequences invisible to the casual observer. The walls, the floors, the ceilings, every element participates in a story larger than stone and marble, a story that bridges generations, holding memory, desire, obsession, and quiet sorrow in delicate equilibrium. To walk through these mansions is to witness the human heart pressed into architecture, to sense the hidden struggles behind every gilded surface, and to understand that the true grandeur of these estates lies not in what is seen, but in what has been lived, endured, and remembered. As night falls over Manhattan, the city lights shimmer like distant stars, casting reflections on the polished facades of its grandest mansions. Yet the true brilliance lies hidden within, in shadows that stretch across marble halls and ornate staircases, in corridors that have borne witness to desire, ambition, and sorrow for generations. The mansions seem almost alive in this twilight, their walls breathing slowly, carrying the tension of every whispered secret, every fleeting joy, every heartbreak pressed into their stones. To stand before them is to sense not only the weight of wealth but the burden it exacts, the quiet cost paid by those who lived in pursuit of perfection, and the human fragility that grandeur can never conceal. Inside, the rooms hold the resonance of lives long past, yet vivid in memory. Chandeliers glimmer faintly, casting fractured light across gilded mirrors that reflect not only faces, but traces of obsession, longing, and loss. Staircases spiral with the elegance of design, yet echo with the invisible steps of those who walked in fear, in hope, in anticipation of social triumphs and hidden betrayals. The silence of these halls is heavy with emotion, a tension that grows with every footfall, every glance, every trace of dust that has settled over decades of history. Even the furniture seems to remember, chairs pressed with anxiety, tables that held secrets instead of meals, desks stacked with ledgers of fortunes earned and squandered, each object silently testifying to the human cost of beauty. Some rooms have never been fully revealed, their doors closed for decades, holding relics of lives that might never be fully understood. In attics, faded letters speak of love and longing forbidden by expectation, diaries lie forgotten beneath carpets, and paintings conceal inscriptions of ambition and rivalry that the world was never meant to see. The mansion itself becomes a storyteller, revealing its lessons subtly through shadows, reflections, and the interplay of light across surfaces worn smooth by use. Wealth and power are not merely displayed here, they are examined, dissected, and remembered, as if the walls themselves insist that history be acknowledged, that the emotions embedded within remain alive. Even the gardens, once meticulously curated, hold the residue of human obsession. Paths curve unpredictably, fountains murmur faintly in the night, and statues seem to watch, as if aware of the tensions that once played out in their presence. Flowers bloom in unexpected patterns, leaves scatter where footsteps never tread, and the air carries a delicate scent of earth, decay, and memory, a reminder that time cannot be fully tamed, and that beauty itself is fragile, vulnerable to the passage of years and the weight of human emotion pressed against it. And in this final reckoning, the mansions reveal their ultimate truth, that every gleaming surface, every grand hall, every intricate detail is inseparable from the human heart that built it, and that the pursuit of perfection, of wealth, of legacy, carries within it both triumph and quiet sorrow. To walk these halls is to confront ambition, obsession, love, and loss simultaneously, to feel the weight of memory pressing from every corner, and to understand that the grandeur admired by outsiders is inseparable from the hidden struggles endured within. The mansions endure not only as monuments to beauty, but as vessels of human truth, waiting patiently for those willing to see beyond gilded surfaces, to feel beyond polished floors, and to listen closely to the whispers of history that remain alive within the stones, the shadows, and the spaces between light and dark.